According to official data, Petersburg was founded in 1703 by Peter I, who heroically raised a great city on a swamp in record time by the standards of that era. Masterpieces such as St. Isaac's Cathedral, Kazan Cathedral, the Alexander Column, the Hermitage, the Admiralty Building, the Spit of Vasilievsky Island, and so on were allegedly built by uneducated men with shovels. After all, according to the official version of history, during this period in Russia, the population was still largely illiterate. Industry was very underdeveloped, and we have yet to reach the technological level required to construct such massive structures even today. Let's begin with a distinctive feature of St. Petersburg's urban development that catches the eye of every resident and visitor of the northern capital: windows at the level of the foundation. In most of the city's historical buildings, the first floor is a basement: the Winter Palace, the Kunstkamera, the Menshikov Palace, the Naval and Zoological Museums. Even in ordinary cafes and shops located in old houses, the entire first floor is below ground level, so when you enter, you immediately find yourself in the basement. Officially, this is explained by the presence of the so-called cultural layer, which grows centimeter by centimeter every year like a snowball. As if people do not walk the streets and the city is never cleaned, resulting in 2-3 meters, about a meter per century of dirt accumulating over the past 300 years. However, there's a catch. If we look at images from the early 20th century, we see that the appearance of St. Petersburg's main architectural landmarks has not undergone significant changes. The cultural layer has not grown. So it's not about the cultural layer, but simply the way they built, practically without a foundation and with windows in the basement. But wait. Especially considering the constant risk of floods due to the periodic flooding of the Neva River. It's one thing if they just built basements, but why include windows in them, sometimes very large, for example like in the Winter Palace? Why do that? It gives the impression that the entire city was once covered by a thick layer of earth or flooded with a large amount of mud, which could be the result of a float. Let's go further. Have you ever been surprised by the large amount of antiquity on the streets and in the palaces of St. Petersburg, clearly pointing to the heritage of ancient Rome? The entire Hermitage is filled with statues of ancient gods, and in all museums and historical places there are sculptures and monuments clearly from a distant culture. Yet, their authorship is attributed to the craftsmanship of our artisans, who, let me remind you, did not attend universities, but sculpted like gods. The monument to Suvorov as the Roman god of war Mars Y. Even the famous bronze horseman is dressed in a Roman toga and sandals, and he sits on the horse without stirrups, which, if we believe historians, were only invented in the 4th century. This suggests that the rider representing Peter lived no later than the 4th century, and the statue may have been cast in the same era. Could it be that all of this was inherited from a previous civilization? For example, the bronze horseman stood there before Peter. His head was simply replaced to better resemble the emperor. And the monument to Suvorov was just dug up, and they decided that the god Mars correlates well enough with the image of a great Russian military leader. Why invent and build when everything is already built? Just take and use it. Supporting this theory are numerous paintings, lithographs, and other images showing the existence of things that, according to official sources, did not yet exist. The same famous St. Isaac's Cathedral in its current version was constructed between 1818 and 1858. However, there are a huge number of historical images showing that the cathedral already existed in its current form even before 1858. And let's not forget the fact that, again, according to official history, in 1837, the wedding of Ekaterina Gontareva and the infamous dance took place in St. Isaac's Cathedral. But how is that possible if the cathedral was still under construction at the time? Let's dig deeper. Official history assures us that St. Isaac's Cathedral is a Christian temple built by Christians and for Christians. Question then, why is it filled with non-Christian symbolism? Angels in Roman armor, swastika patterns on the floor, which speak more of a belief in the forces of nature, a temple of sun worshippers rather than in Christ on the cross. It seems that all Christian attributes like crosses and crucifixes were added much later, as they look so out of place and crude against the perfect proportions of the statues and bas-relief. See for yourself. An angel in Roman armor. Angels in ancient garments. Swastika patterns on the floor indicating sun worship. This is why no Montferrand with his uneducated laborers built the cathedral. He was merely involved in minor repairs aimed at adapting the ancient temple for Christianity. At the beginning of the 19th century, we didn't have anywhere near the technologies required to build such a massive structure literally by hand. Judge for yourself. In the official records of the construction of St. Isaac's, there is no mention of using machines or lifting equipment. Yet the weight of just one column of the cathedral is between 114 and 117 tons. Processing and smoothly polishing such a column without machinery is impossible. The weight of the columns in the upper colonnade of the cathedral is 64 tons, and the height of the colonnade is 41 meters. That's the height of a 14-story building. Yet machines and mechanisms capable of lifting such weight to such a height do not exist to this day. And according to the official version, the cathedral is only about 150 years old. But where are the project and technical documentation, the construction plans, the cost estimates, and so on? There isn't even an oral tradition of the experience of building such structures. There's nothing to confirm the actual construction of St. Isaac's, the Hermitage, which, by the way, has thousands of columns made of monolithic granite and marble, Kazan Cathedral, or the Alexander Column, which weighs more than 600 tons. We can't even extract such a monolith from a quarry today, let alone transport it, perfectly shape the stone, and install such a massive structure. Yet, they keep telling us that all of this was built by some mythical illiterate Danilem masters under the direction of the genius Montferrand. It's nothing short of miraculous. Look at the engraving by Alexei Zubov from 1716, which shows the summer garden almost as we know it today. And all of this was supposedly built in just 13 years. Let me remind you, according to official history, Peter founded St. Petersburg in 1703. Consider the scale, the layout, and most importantly, the speed of such a project without surveyors, without proper roads, in Russian winters with temperatures down to 35 C, built by labor gangs made up of simple illiterate Russian peasants. And now, for comparison, here are the great cities of Europe from the same period, including Amsterdam, which so fascinated Peter and supposedly taught him so much. Cities where underground sewage systems were just beginning to appear, and the streets were barely wide enough for two carts to pass each other. A map of London. Not a single straight-lined. Amsterdam. Kiev, the mother of Russian cities. Now let's analyze what St. Petersburg really represents. This city is one of the strongholds of the perimeter of the Great Race, which was built thousands of years ago and appeared in different forms and under different names throughout various periods and epochs. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the continuation, or watch it on our Telegram channel. The link will be under the video or in the profile header.